Hey, you guys, how's your weekend going? Nice to see you again. This is Richard Sachs, and you're on Lost Arts Radio. This is Lost Arts Radio live safe stream version, the one that we make special for YouTube to make them happy with the terms of service and community guidelines and all the rules they have in place for our well-being and protection and happiness, right? And trying to avoid being sent back to re-education camp by having only nice things that could not possibly offend anybody and couldn't have too much meaning, and within that, tell you the truth. So it's a challenge, and we've done it some of the time by, not saying exactly what's meant, and other times just trying to gauge carefully what we can say. It's very short. It's only a few minutes broadcast because we're getting ready for the real Lost Arts Radio live show, which starts in about 25 minutes now. So I thought, all right, what can I talk about today that would be of interest and relevant to what we're experiencing in our lives right now? And, I've spent a long time, many decades, looking into all the originally real health information, which is violently suppressed in our country. You might have noticed that. I have to be careful what I say here. You're not allowed to say what's really happening. Okay, so I'll be careful not to do that. But this global situation that we've got going on right now, if you knew how much it was fabricated, you'd just be like, what? They wouldn't lie that much. And that's what fools people. And it's like the German government in the late 30s said famously, if you want everybody to believe something that's not true, make it as big of a lie as possible. And everybody will fall for it because they wouldn't believe that you would be that brazen about not telling the truth. So I spent a long time looking at the whole health thing, that what's normal, what's our normal condition, and health matters. It's not a specialty that you only care about if you're a health specialist or something. If you're in a physical body, which to me is your costume for a short time, then it's really important to take care of it. It's just like if you have a car and you don't want to put sawdust in the gas tank if you want to drive anywhere, and somebody reads the owner's manual and knows what to do and does it. So you get actual gasoline or diesel and the car runs. But we don't get to do that with our physical body because the owner's manual does exist, but not in physical form. There are pieces of it. There's a lot of good stuff in Marcus Rothkran's book, Heal Yourself 101. And I say this after a long time of working on this stuff it occurred to me, wait a minute, you're in a costume. You don't know how to get out of it at the moment. You're so tied into it. You think it's you. You better learn how it works, and by the early 1960s, I was in real serious health trouble and I was in the clutches of the doctors, and they very well-meaning, great, top-of-the-line doctors, and they were going to kill me, not kill my body at least. And I thought, wait a minute, this is not the best route to follow. Permanent drug addiction, having your organs cut out, unpleasant stuff like that just kept getting worse and worse. That's called state-of-the-art medicine, I think is how they refer to it. And it just started. For some reason, I was able to think outside the box and said, even if they're wearing white coats, and even if they have a stethoscope around their neck, which is really impressive, And even if they use long words, 5 syllables, and know how to say some Latin things, what they're saying may not be true. And that's really hard to grasp for most of it. Most of us, we've been trained to have blind obedience to authority, science authority, religious authority figures, um, medical authorities figures, especially people talking about health. We don't check it out because we think we're not qualified, and they fool us. And the thing is, you can be qualified. You don't, it doesn't, the labels and the credentials and everything you have are not what makes you intelligent. They're not what make you informed. They're not what makes you informed. Um, what you learn is what makes you informed, and what you do with your consciousness, because there's different kinds of intelligence, and you can get really brilliant in one field and later on find out the whole field was based on assumptions that were false. After decades of pursuing it, you can find that out. And if you get in that situation, it's really hard to acknowledge it, because you feel subconsciously, oh, I wasted 40 years. You've been a medical doctor for all this time, or you've been a PhD scientist, or you've been a mother or father and raised your children with certain beliefs that you passed on because you memorized them and you thought you knew they were true, and then you find out later, that's great, except they're all false. It's really challenging to say, yeah, well, sorry, I was wrong. Sorry about the health and the science thing and all the stuff I taught you that were facts, and they were all false. It's hard, but if you are able to acknowledge that when it happens, then that all becomes useful experience, and you can go on to find out what is true and get more accurate kind of triangulating and coming in like a beam that guides an aircraft into landing. You strafe to one side and the other, and it always brings you back to the center. So acknowledging you were wrong about something is really important. Otherwise, you waste your time. So now the power structure is putting all this energy into making sure that we don't know what's going on. And we've been so well trained to accept authority and believe the authority figures that most of us never question. But that's a mistake, because real science, which we're told all these things that we just have to memorize, are real science. That's not true. Real science questions everything. Real spiritual questions everything too, because both of them supposedly want to find out what's true. So to me at this point, after doing that for a long time, and you look at the state of the world right now, which is a very serious condition, and it looks like a bad dream, that I told you I was interested in our normal state, and I haven't totally finished finding it out, but I've got lots of pieces at this point. And we're so far away from our normal state, not just our physical health, but our perception, our real intelligence, not just IQ score. Because you got all these super intelligent people who have high IQs working to destroy the world, and they don't even know it. So they're so smart, they're not even smart enough to know. You got this brilliant scientist finding new GMO forms of seeds, or finding new ways to change the weather, and his bosses are saying, "Oh yeah, you're fighting climate change." And he said, "Oh great, I'm fighting climate change, so we have to keep the geoengineering secret from the public because we're fighting climate change, and they might not be, public is not even scientists, they wouldn't understand. So we have to do this for them. Besides, they make a lot of money." Or you're a newscaster and you're lying, but you're saying, well, the public is like little kids or like animals we're taking care of. They actually call them in a lot of the documents in federal law, they call the public animals or herds, or you heard of herd immunity and different things. They top level considers you as insects or animals, and people working in this system get a choice. You can go along with what you're told and make lots of money and have a good life while everybody else is suffering, or you can quit, your choice, and then we'll destroy you. But it's free choice, whatever you want. So people are stuck in these roles. And what I wanted to know is, all right, we got these roles that people are playing in these costumes called bodies, right? And so you got all these different roles in life. But who's the actor? We know who the character is. The character is what you see. Who's acting the part? And the thing about consciousness, when it opens up more and more, is that you start, well, a lot of things happen. One is you start developing awareness of a conscience. You start not being comfortable doing things that hurt other people and hurt you. And so if you're a chemtrail pilot and you become aware that, yeah, it's a great career you've got. You have a lot of money and you get to be like James Bond or Judy Bond and not tell the public because you're working for their benefit and they wouldn't understand. And then you start finding out, oh, I'm poisoning the whole biosphere. Is it worth $500,000 a year or whatever I'm making to do that when I'm killing everybody's kids and mine too? They try to get people to do those jobs that aren't married with families and without kids, but they sometimes can't do that all the time. So what happens with intelligence is you can have as high of an IQ as you want and still be so dumb that you go along with suicidal missions. But if you start getting awareness and consciousness, you can't do that anymore. And that's not just for the general population. If you're a hired killer, whether it's as a form as a scientist coming up with new poison, new bioweapons to inject into people or to aerosolize it around the world, you start getting uncomfortable and eventually you can't do it. So what I see as a solution that has to happen to turn this around so that they don't complete the agenda of enslavement and extermination. I hope I can say that and not disappear. Consciousness has to change. It's not intelligence. It's not. Some people of very low intelligence are wiser than the ones who are these brilliant math and science people. You know, you've got these brilliant medical doctors that still believe poisonous chemicals should be called medicine. So they're kind of brilliant idiots, you know, and I'm not condemning them for it because we've all been brilliant idiots before you start to really condemn somebody else for being so stupid. Realize, unless you're really unique, we've all done really stupid things. So in truth, we have no grounds to condemn anybody. It's like throw the first stone, right? Who throws the first stone? So the people who are playing the role of the bad guys, they're the perpetrators that are making all this happen. And each one is getting orders from the level above them. And at the top, it's not human. Sorry, but no time to beat around the bush. That's how it is. I've seen some of the top level. It's not human. And you can't debate them and say, well, you really should stop doing this. They'll eat you. So that doesn't work. But there are ways to affect them, and resonance is what I call the main one. We're all affecting each other all the time. So get conscious yourself. And that's not intellectual. That's something much deeper. Get your own consciousness back. You'll become contagious in a positive way. And that spreads, and it spreads even to the people playing the roles of bad guys. That's basically, in a really quick nutshell, what I see as our option. Either we understand that and get brave enough to do it, which is mostly changing yourself, or we're going to have an unpleasant lesson beyond where it is now. And I'd rather we don't have that. So my effort for the few minutes of show today is to tell you the truth, and I'm subject to error. I'm not in some kind of completion phase. I'm working really hard to get further too. But what I've found so far, this is true. And if you understand it and don't take it as, well, that's an interesting show, next, what's for dinner, and, what's the movie tonight? Give me Netflix schedule, and who am I fighting with? Who am I in good communication with? No, this is something, if you can grasp it and assess yourself, you have a certain amount of intelligence, right? Which is very useful. It's a good tool. But then you also have a certain amount of perception and consciousness. Find the weak spots, fix them. It's way more urgent than critiquing anybody else. And time gets put off and put off and put off. I don't know how much time we've got in this chapter. We're in a very unstable environment. And, when we get reminded of that, something shocking happens. It's like some kind of emotional earthquake. And it's wise to see that beforehand, how valuable your time is right now, and use it better. So anyway, I went longer than I planned to, but I'll try to get better at explaining this stuff. I don't think I'm doing as good of a job as I need to, but I hope you got some feeling of what I'm trying to talk about. I don't see a way out of it. I still think mass noncompliance, I can say that, is essential and really powerful and good. And I agree with David and Chris and others about that. Totally agree. Not violence, but mass nonviolent noncompliance. But what gives that power to succeed is the consciousness behind it. Otherwise, the rulers, the perpetrators, will just continue their current strategy, which is just roll over us no matter what gets exposed. Consciousness can change that. Anyway, thanks for being here. I appreciate you very much. I see you as the hope of the world, and that's not a slogan or, something to say. I honestly actually think that. So it's really important to me what you do. And whether you're a regular person like most of us or in some high power position, it's the same requirement from whatever position you're in. Even if you're just taking care of the kids all day, or you're working at a job, or you're going to school, or whatever you're doing, it's what is in the background of your awareness while you're doing that. And you can check that by how you feel. Because if you start edging into that, your whole emotional reality is going to change. So pay attention and do it. And if you want to see us for the main live show, go to lostartsradio.com. And it has links to everywhere we're allowed to broadcast. And that starts in about 8 minutes. So I'd like to see you there. I'm trying to keep this platform alive as long as we can on the YouTube platform, because we have subscribers here that I don't want to lose touch with. But go to lostartsradio.com and look at the real live stream. Starts in about 7 minutes. I'll see you there, and help spread the links, okay? You know what's happening with the censorship and shadow banning and all that. So I appreciate the help, and hope you're having a good weekend. Have a good night, and you're very much appreciated. And I have hopes for what you're about to do. So talk to you soon. Thanks for being here.